All right. Yeah, it was fun. It was a really good time over at Boatyard Eats. We had fast cars and guitars with Matt Stell and DJ Silver. It was just a fun night, get everybody kind of together, and had a few industry people as well as some KBM people and some outsiders that we met for the first time. So had some great sponsors for the event. Was really a great kickoff to the weekend. We had KBM Fan Day in the morning and then closed it out with the concert last night. So all around, great cause for the Bundle of Joy Fund and raising some money and some awareness for the infertility issues and what we're able to help with Samantha and myself. And so Samantha did a great job being able to orchestrate all of that, put that together. And so hopefully it was a good fundraiser for us.
All right, we'll now go to questions. We'll take as many questions as we can. We'll start with Jordan, go to Bob, and then Greg. Go ahead, Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. How would you say you guys are stacking up right now versus the Hendrick and the Gibbs cars?
I would say, the mile-and-a-half stuff, I feel like we're really close. We're right there. Kansas was a really good look for us. I felt like we had a good top 5, top 3 speed. And, anything can happen in the end of these races, and you can contend for a win. But obviously, our short track program is a far miss right now, and we're all trying to kind of figure out what exactly is going on there and why. We can look at all the sheets and see all the stuff and try to correlate it as close as we possibly can and copy, but it's not relating to the racetrack and our cars at all. So there's a disconnect there somewhere.
When you looked at the schedule previously, especially kind of going into the summer, there was a lot of redundancy, a lot of the similar type tracks, mile-and-a-half, intermediate type tracks. Now it's all over the board, road courses, super speedways, etc. Is it hard to build consistency within a program to start stringing together good, consistent results because it's so different now on a week-to-week basis?
Honestly, I kind of feel like it would be harder to build. If you had, out of 6 weeks, if you had 4 short tracks, we wouldn't have time to breathe because we'd been sucking so bad, But, when you have, 4 out of 6 weeks have a mile-and-a-half, it would feel pretty good. We'd be excited about that, ready for that. So I think it's a matter of your program and how that's looking for you in the particular moment. So, we kind of know our weaknesses and know that we need to get better on those and continue to evolve the whole organization.
All right, we'll go to Bob.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. If you don't get in practice and qualifying, are you at any more of a disadvantage in the fact that you've never raced an RCR car here at this track? I mean, do you feel like you'd be behind compared to maybe other drivers who've been with their teams for at least a couple of years?
Yeah, certainly that could kind of be a little bit of a stance. I would just hope that the sim stuff that we did, as well as the sheets that we're able to see, the notes that we're able to see from the Hendrick guys and whatnot and what they've done, because Kyle tested here. Tiny Kyle, he tested here, I don't know, a few months ago, whatever it was, for the tire test, and so we kind of relied heavily on that and what those guys did and through our key partner relationship with Chevrolet. So, if we don't have any practice or anything like that, that's where we base off.
All right, Lee, go ahead.
Lee Spencer, catchfence.com. Kind of curious, Gateway last year was the inaugural event, and everybody was like, up on the wheel because you want to win the first one, right? There's a little prestige that comes with it. But other than that, why do you think it raced more like a short track where it was extremely aggressive even for a track of that size?
Yeah, I guess probably more so because of the shifting than anything. You're able to go into the corner and downshift and come out of the corner and have the torque in the engine and everything else. If you kind of slip up or you bog the center of the corner down a little too much because your car's too tight, you're going to lose that momentum and you're not going to have that speed, and so you're just going to be slow. But I feel like everybody can kind of, bounce right back coming out of the turns in relation to their center of the corner speed. But overall, yeah, I thought, it was quite an interesting race. I felt like the line really moved around a lot. I could not run the bottom at either end of the racetrack. I was kind of a top guy, so that was kind of fun to see the place really have some character.
Thank you.
All right, Greg. Up front here.
Greg Engel with Forbes. Hey, congrats on your thing last night. It looked really good.
Thank you.
Continue that. It's great charity. I'm talking to Richard tomorrow about the winery because I talked to him in 2004, and I'm doing kind of a follow-up. Since you've been involved with RCR and the winery, have you kind of been drawn into that kind of world? Has he taken you there and maybe done some meetings or events? Or what do you think of having something like a winery?
Well, that was actually our first meeting that we had when after Austin called me, and it was a time to have a discussion with Richard. That was where we met. So, that was pretty cool. It was my second time being there. First time being there was Dale Jr.'s wedding. And then that was my second time there. And then we've had a couple meetings since. And I invited everybody from RCR's management team and whatnot all out to dinner and to do a dinner for them. And I wanted to take them somewhere. And Richard insisted that we had to go to the winery. So we ended up going back up there again for that function. But, it's a super nice place. It's really pretty up there. They're doing some expansion right now. So, he's well vested in that. And it seems to be a really good business for him.
Thanks, dude.
All right, we're going to go to Kelly.
Kelly CrownRacer.com. Kyle, it's been a number of years now since the eligibility rules changed with Truck and Xfinity. You're back in the Xfinity car this weekend. I'm curious, with how much we know you love to race, these last couple years being limited so much, do you still feel fulfilled with the racing that you can do, or how much do you still miss not being able to run as much as you would want to?
Yeah, definitely miss being able to run as much as I want to a lot. I would love to have way more truck races, especially, I thought we started out strong and we were going to have a good year with winning at Vegas with the KBM Chevrolets, but unfortunately we've been terrible since, so we're missing something somewhere and we're trying to figure out why and what. And we have an idea, but we haven't necessarily conquered it yet. So that would be one that I would really like to get back into, would be the truck series and running my own stuff a little bit more, having some more races to kind of just build the program and make sure that we are where we need to be with our younger drivers, not necessarily having that experience to be able to dictate and tell exactly, what's wrong with our vehicle dynamics, stuff like that. So, the Xfinity side, I could take it or I could leave it. I enjoy racing anything as much as I can, but triples have, maybe because I haven't done them as much lately. The triple in Vegas was a little bit much. But, if you're back to doing them again more periodically, your body gets used to it. That's how I was early on. When I first started doing triples, it was hard, and then I got used to it, and then it was easy. And now you're kind of back out of it. So it's no different than a workout regimen. You just got to get back in.
On the flip side of that, it seems like the last couple of years, though, you've done more away from NASCAR, the dirt stuff, whether it's getting...
I have to. What other choices do I have?
So that's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
How much has that helped that you can at least stay busy somehow, whether it's with Brexton or trying different types of racing, dirt racing stuff?
Yeah, right. Thanks. So, that's just kind of it, right? Like, Larson can go run 100. I think he's going to run 100 shows this year. And so that's just insane. I think I'm only going to be about 20. But the key reason, or the main reason why I do what I do on the dirt side, is just with Brexton. He gets to go run his go-kart stuff or his junior sprint stuff, and I'll run the micros, and we'll run on the same night. We'll be together. So that's always fun. We've got a big week next week coming up where we're going to go to St. Louis and run at Tri-Cities on Thursday, Doe Run on Friday, and then Wayne County on Saturday, him and me both. So it's going to be a lot of fun to be able to go up there and race those 3 tracks on 3 separate nights and, have a good time running, him and I.
All right, we'll go back to Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. Have you done any sim laps for the new Chicago race at all yet?
No. Not in sim, but iRacing. We did some stuff on iRacing.
What were your impressions?
Some of the corners were really, really tight. And how they have the walls coming out of the corners, where they had, on the sim, it had cones. There's a wall you're coming down this straightaway, and there's another straightaway there. But the ground, the road is separated with a wall in the middle, and there's cones that are blocking off where they don't want you to go. So I thought that was weird. I'm like, just extend the wall, but maybe they don't want to extend the wall because they need areas for, safety crews to get out. So I'm not the scientist on that. But anyways, it just seemed weird when you're coming around a corner and you got to miss the end of a wall.
All right, we'll go to Lee.
Sean Hunter was in here earlier, and a lot of people were asking him what the next step, and if it was invaluable for him to go back to trucks and work his way back up. In your opinion, because you've been an owner, so you evaluate talent, what does he need to get that next step to be a full-time Cup driver?
I kind of knew where you were going. This isn't to be mean or rude or a bad word, but he needs $6 million and he'll be in a JGR Cup car next year. That's all he needs.
Does he have all the,
It's not a success game anymore. It's a money game. So if he can find the cash, then there will be a seat for him, I'm pretty sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be racing the stuff that he's racing right now as much as he's racing right now if it wasn't for, the Serve Pro sponsorship that we have on Brexton. So there's no question that you have to have funding behind you, because these owners anymore, there's not enough money in the sport that they're making money that they're willing to reinvest it into their talent pool, into their driver pool, and put it out there. So I think Rick is probably the only one with Larson. Everybody else is all sponsorship driven, and fortunately for me, I've got some great sponsors this year behind me with RCR, and our program's been building, and we've been continuing to expand forward on the sponsorship side, so that's good.
money aside this change, check off boxes?
I'm sorry?
Money aside this John
Yeah.
check off boxes?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like he was really good at KBM. He was engaged. He did a good job. He was always reliable. We could ask him to do sim, and he would be there. And so, I feel like on the Xfinity side this year, he's been running up front. He's been fast. He's been doing a good job. He's arguably in, the series best equipment. But when you're able to excel in that and go out there and win races week in, week out, then that gives you that chance or that notoriety to say, hey, I can move up to the next level. I'm ready for it.
All right, I believe we had a question in the middle.
Hey, Kyle. Amy Henderson, Jacobs Media. When you go to the track with Brexton and race, how much of you do you see in his driving style, and what do you maybe wish he'd do different from you when you were coming up through the ranks?
Yeah, every driver's different, right? I mean, it doesn't look like it from the outside, but every driver's very different. So he's definitely, if I had to say what's his weakness, he's a little tentative at times, but he's also been aggressive at times and has gotten himself where he might spin somebody out or spin himself out or something, and then he gets sent to the back. So he doesn't want to get sent to the back. So he'd rather, not make a pass and ride in that position than have to go back all the way to the tail of the field. So he's actually a lot smarter than I might give him credit for a lot of times. So he really does do a good job of calculation and thinking through things. But if I could just try to push him a little bit harder, that's to be a little bit more aggressive. But other than that, when he listens, he does a great job. Earlier this year at Millbridge, I think it was race number 2 or 3, he didn't try very hard. So, the word effort and try, we're working on the definitions of what that means. And so he didn't do a good job, and he got his iPad taken away for 2 weeks. And then he went back out the next week, and he asked me, he goes, "Can I have my iPad back?" And I said, "You could go earn it back tonight." And he goes out there and he wins the race. So he gets his iPad back. So I'm like, okay, if you try, you can do it. So you got to go out there and do it. It's kind of frustrating when you go to the track and he doesn't run to his potential. That's when I get upset. But, he's also still 8 years old. So we got time.
All right, I believe we had a question here from the local affiliate, please. We'll come up front to Alex, and then we'll go back to the back.
Kyle, Nick Carbone, WCNC Charlotte. What does it mean to have a win at the Coke 600 on your resume? And, of course, what would it mean to add one more?
Yeah, no, I love this race. I remember watching this race as a kid when I was growing up, and always may or may not have fallen asleep during it, at least at some point. It's just really long. But it's got the history of 600 miles and man versus machine and all that sort of stuff. So equipment this day and age is entirely different than what equipment used to be. But, it's a cool chance for us to all go out there and run the longest race of the year, and then also to just kind of feel what that's like, and there's been a couple times here where you get to mile marker 500 and you're like, damn, there's still 100 more miles to go, So it'll wear on you for sure if you're not made for it or ready for it. But this place is is really, really rough over the years and has gotten a lot of character back into it since the repave, I think 2007, maybe 2008. So, you know, it's pretty rough and bumpy, so that the 600 miles around here will definitely wear on you.
All right, Alex?
Alex Zetlow, Charlotte Observer. Going back to your comments about barriers getting into a Cup car, what does NASCAR racing lose when those barriers are so high?
Meaning like bringing money to race?
Money, perhaps missing out on talent.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's where I was going to go. So, you know, there's a lot of great, talented race car drivers out there that have never made it and will never make it. I mean, it's just fact. That's when I've raced super late models across the country. I've raced against guys that are very, very talented and well capable of being able to make it up to the big time, but they never get there. You know, they never have the right funding behind them or whatever it might be. So, you know, names off the top of my head is like a Scotty Hance out of Indiana, a Mike Rowe out of Maine, Bubba Pollard down here in the South. You know, fortunately, Josh Berry is now made it per se. So it's guys like that I got a chance to go race against and have some fun with, and race against the best of the best across the country. But you know, sometimes when you're here in Cup or Xfinity or whatever, you know, the talent isn't quite as grand as maybe it could be if you had all of those types of guys here. It would be a lot tougher, but that's opinion, so who knows?
Well, do you think that's a bad thing, or do you think, it's kind of, the difference would be marginal, like negligible? Or do you think it is not good that the best racers in the world are in NASCAR?
Well, you know, I felt like you could have a A driver with a B team, and you could make something of that, you know. And now you can, because all the cars are so equal, we go out there and your qualifying is going to be separated by 4 or 5 tenths of a second. I mean, it's so close, and we're all running out there in the race, running the same lap times. You can't pass, so it's not necessarily a talent division. You know, you had to have car disparity and you had to have driver disparity, and now you don't really have both of those. So I feel like when you have both of those, that allows you to have more separation in the field.
Thanks, Kyle.
All right, we're going to take our final question here in the back.
Thank you, Grace Helping with Speed Sport. I'm just curious, what's your attitude, you know, coming into this race after coming so close last year? Like, are you still fired up about that finish, or kind of what's the mentality?
Yeah. We had a really good car early in the race, and then I spun and kind of ruined it. And we had a bad race through the middle, and then we just missed all the wrecks, and we're in a good spot at the end. So we got lucky to actually finish second. It would have been really funny, yet lucky to win and beat out my teammate Denny last year. His car was still in good shape, and mine was not. But overall, just want to get out to the 1.5 miles again. Like I said, Kansas was a really good run for us. We got in a bad spot. We crashed. So it would be nice to come back out here, have a good, strong run, get in the top 5, get some good points out of this race. There's 4 stages this week. So, you know, that's going to be a big point reward. So hopefully we can do a good job.
All right, Kyle, thank you so much for your time. We wish you the
Thanks.
best of luck this weekend.